In the last few days of winter, just before spring, the monochromatic vistas of Bear Creek Lake Park make it hard to tell what does and doesn't belong here.
This area is primarily cheatgrass.
But to an expert's sharp eye,
I see a big patch of mullein.
There's no hiding the truth.
While we do have an abundance of native vegetation, we do also have a lot of noxious weeds and invasive species in the park. So what you may not see is they are pushing out our native species and creating less habitat for those native animals that we have in the park.
In winter, mullein stalks are a dark brown, but in spring and summer, the invasive plant is an explosion of yellow flowers. Pretty, but also a menace to the ecosystem and a potential fire danger to surrounding neighborhoods.
So invasive species can cause a variety of issues in our native habitat. They push out our native species, which our native fauna rely on for food, for habitat, for nesting areas, but they also can create monocultures. They can just take over areas and they will push out all other species, so we wind up with zero diversity in areas where we have monocultures forming, and that can be a huge danger fire-wise as well as ecosystem health.
Less diversity means less habitat for pollinators like bees, butterflies, birds, and even bats. And in Colorado's dry climate, dead vegetation doesn't break down very easily. Instead, it builds up. And that's why year after year, you get layer after layer of dead, dry fuel. And that's where prescribed fire comes in.
Prescribed fire, it does a lot of things. It can level the playing field more or less for our native species to move back in after a fire.
Prescribed Fire in Bear Creek Lake Park is a partnership between the City of Lakewood and West Metro Fire Rescue, where we can come and help the park improve the natural environment. And while we're doing so, we're reducing hazardous fuels, we're reducing fire risk, and we're training to get experience and proficiency should there be a wildfire event.
All of the native plants we have here in Colorado are fire adapted. These landscapes have evolved over time to function with fire as part of them. A lot of our species even rely on it. A lot of them can't reproduce or will become overgrown and overburdened if they aren't burned back by fire.
Fire reduces built-up ground litter, returns nutrients to the soil, and helps restore balance to the park, a short grass prairie ecosystem that evolved with fire over thousands of years.
Research has found that historically those fires occurred every 1 to 35 years. So the frequency that we were seeing fire come through these landscapes is significantly more than what we're allowing to happen now. Even with prescribed burn, we're barely keeping up.
What's different now are the homes and neighborhoods that border open space. We call it the Wildland urban interface, and it's the reason why, along Colorado's Front Range, that every prescribed fire is planned months, sometimes years in advance.
The burn plan is very specific in temperature range, humidity range, wind speed, fuel moisture, personnel. All these details come together, and then we test fire. And once we've put a little fire on the ground to see how it behaves, we determine whether it's going to be a successful burn and whether we can continue with the plan or not.
In the right conditions, fire becomes a tool, a way to care for this landscape and help protect the communities that share it.